Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us today, the host of Collider Jedi Council, Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Collider Movie Talk. Gonna be a fun one. Before we get to our guest today, also want to let you know, if you didn't already, that you can now find Movie Talk and everything else we do here on Collider on both Roku and Apple TV. It's pretty awesome. I was just laying in bed the other night. I was like, let me check it out. It's cool to be able to just watch it from the comfort of your own home watching on television. So go and check that out on both Roku and Apple TV. This is going to be a very high-energy show, and I will tell you why in a second. Natasha, who we got today?
Super excited. From DC All Access, Jason Inman is joining us.
I'm excited to be here, and I got to up my energy game way hardcore because the guy to my left.
You can do it, Jason!
You're giving it away.
You're already giving it away.
I was going to intro you, but people already know you from The Voice. John Roca's opponent in tomorrow's much-anticipated movie trivia schmodown, Mr. Scott Mantz is joining us.
Mantz is back in the house for Movie Talk. Better to have Roku than Roca.
I like that. Really nice.
Yes.
Really good. I like that. Yes, the big rematch goes down tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a little bit. But it's time to talk about movie news. Natasha, what do we got today?
All right, well, after losing director Juan Antonio Bayona on the Jurassic World universe, Brad Pitt is zeroing in on an old friend for the World War Z sequel. According to a report from Variety, Pitt, along with Paramount and Skydance, are in talks with David Fincher to direct the sequel to the 2013 smash hit. Pitt will return to star in and produce the follow-up and recently met with a handful of other directors, but is now said to be zeroing in on Fincher for the project, which is expected to start filming in early 2017. The report states that Fincher and Pitt met 2 weeks ago to discuss the possibility of Fincher boarding the zombie tentpole, with Fincher reportedly lukewarm about the project. Variety sources have since confirmed that negotiations are much further down the road and no one else currently has an offer to direct. After losing Bayona, the studio is expected to delay the film's release, which was originally set for June 9th, 2017. Kristian, Fincher has repeatedly said he doesn't want to make franchise sequels, so what do you think got him to enter talks for a World War Z sequel?
Brad Pitt is charming. Brad Pitt has worked with Fincher before. Twice, I believe?
Three times.
Three times. So
Seven,
Fight
Benjamin
Club,
Button,
and Fight
Benjamin
Club. Right,
Button.
correct. So those three movies, they have a relationship. So that is probably why he's considering it. We know that Brad Pitt is very passionate about this project, and we see what he was able to do. Now, I know there's some people out there don't like World War Z. I thought it was fine, but you have to remember what that movie went through, and it did something that a lot of movies can't do. The dreaded reshoots. The dreaded reshoots that it's never going to, this movie's going to be an absolute train wreck and a disaster and financially be a mess. Financially be a disaster, and it wasn't. It did well financially. Some people really enjoyed the movie, others didn't, but it came back from those reshoots, and I think that what David Fincher will be able to do is really get people excited for a David Fincher zombie movie? Yes,
exactly.
Please.
Yep.
A David Fincher zombie movie with Brad Pitt? Yes, please. I don't care if you can change a little bit of the dynamic of what happened in the first one, because I think it happened so long ago that I don't even remember what the hell happened in the movie except for fast zombies running. But I don't need to if I know that Fincher will be back. Mantz Man, are you excited? Do you think it'll happen?
I think it should happen. I'm with you. The fact that David Fincher, who has never directed a bad movie yet, is going to direct a friggin' zombie movie.
Alien 3.
I mean, come on. It's
Yeah,
going
that's
to
what I
be
was bringing up.
awesome. Also, you have the fact that they have this relationship, Brad Pitt, David Fincher. It's very fruitful. 3 films so far. I can't wait to see them work again on anything. But also, you're right. World War Z came out in 2013 and made $540 million worldwide, and Paramount lucked out with that movie. There was so much bad buzz going into that film because of the reshoots. David Lindelof came in to rewrite an ending, and it was 40 minutes that they tacked on to the end of that film. Fortunately, they saved it. It works. I think they were just happy that it was in the black, but the fact that they were moving forward with the sequel, and I mean, like you said, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the prospect of David Fincher and Brad Pitt working together on any movie, let alone a sequel to World War Z.
Jason?
This would be the only thing that would get me interested in World War Z 2. And actually, I kind of think that this is all fake.
Why?
I kind of think that this is Brad Pitt keeping the publicity of this movie up, because I think Fincher is never going to do this movie, has no intention of doing this movie, and I think this is Brad Pitt being like, float his name out there so we can sign who we actually want, because they'll be like, ooh, you were our real choice over Fincher. I think this is all a ploy and this is a smokescreen, because I think Fincher will never, ever do this movie, and I think they're trying to get the director that they want, and this is how they're making the play. If Fincher is going to take on a franchise, I don't want it to be World War Z. I'm going to throw this out there. I want him to direct the next Bond movie.
Yeah, that's not
man,
crazy.
you
But
just killed it, brother.
I'll tell you what, though, that theory is not crazy normally, because they absolutely do that. I just don't think that Brad Pitt would leverage a guy that he's clearly worked with 3 times before. You never know. I mean, there's something that you could definitely say, look, let's throw it out there, and maybe we get lucky and he does it.
Maybe they had a really quick meeting about it. Brad Pitt was like, what do you think about World War Z? And Fincher just like took a sip of the cup and just said, well, I'm not saying no. And that was as far as it went.
Right.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting, though, that they said that nobody else was being considered, and that was the only one. But we'll figure it out. But I tend to agree with you. I think you need someone big, though, to do it. I think it's important, too, because we've just lost so many years on it already that no one was really going to be excited about it, that you need a big director to really bring more excitement to it. So I agree there. All right, what's next?
It was a blink and you'll miss it moment at the beginning of Suicide Squad that gave us the first clue as to who killed Robin in the DC Extended Universe. So before we begin, we want to issue a spoiler alert for the movie Suicide Squad. While we will be discussing things that happened before the movie, it can spoil certain elements, so either fast forward or wait for the spoiler alert graphic to disappear if you haven't seen Suicide Squad yet. Okay, during Harley Quinn's introductory sequence, a part of the graphics read, accomplice to the murder of Robin, and those flash across the screen. Now Suicide Squad director David Ayer has gone on record to reveal the true murderer of Robin and the subsequent moments which cost him his teeth. Speaking with Empire Online, Ayer revealed what we pretty much already knew: the Joker killed Robin. This is sort of my personal thing and maybe less about a larger connection, but Joker killed Robin and Batman basically smashes his teeth out and locks him up in Arkham Asylum. It's in the asylum where Joker would have done the damage tattoo as a message to Batman saying, "You've damaged me. I was so beautiful before, and now you've destroyed my face." That's where the grill comes from. With a standalone Batman film on the way from Ben Affleck, it may be possible we learn a bit more about this development. Suicide Squad is now playing in theaters. Jason, what do you think about the reveal that Joker killed Robin?
Well, it's obvious. It's not really a reveal. I think the better question is, what do I think about that this is finally going to happen on the big screen? Because this happens in a storyline in the comic books, Batman Death in the Family. It's one of the most famous Batman storylines. People called into a 1-900 number to decide whether they were going to kill Robin or not. They killed him. They were bloodthirsty. But the fact that we could see the screen, the fact that this was teased in Batman v Superman and now Suicide Squad, to me sort of leans towards the fact that this is what the Batman solo film is going to be, about the murder of Robin and all the ramifications of it.
Or first of all, the fact that you have a blink and you miss it moment of such a significant plot point in the DC
and I didn't
cinematic
catch it until
universe.
the second time I saw it.
I didn't catch it at all, even when I saw it for the second time, because I wanted to give it another chance, and I did like it more the second time I saw it, I have to say, because there is so much going on. But a moment like that does not deserve a blink and you miss it moment, which is why I think that after Jared Leto talked about how there were so many scenes cut of his performance as the Joker,
you think there's something in there?
Maybe there was a flashback scene where you see the Joker kill Robin.
Yeah, I don't think so. Only because I think that it's more of a concentrated thing on the actual Suicide Squad and more a Harley Quinn story too, where that significantly ties into the Batman story, where I agree with Jason. I think they're going to really explore this in the Batman movie standalone. I don't know how much farther they're going to go in the past from the events of Batman v Superman, but I think everybody looks at this story right now and says, well, yeah, we kind of knew that from even in Batman v Superman when you see this suit. And it's,
the bigger change about this actually is the fact that Harley Quinn is involved, because she wasn't even created when this happened in the comic books. She didn't appear for another 6 or 7 years.
I'm okay with them changing up the
I am too.
Sure.
And that just means that Margot Robbie will hopefully be in that movie as well.
I think she's definitely going to be in that movie. I think that she's one of the ones that stood out to everyone in that film. Harley Quinn was great.
She was awesome.
She showed up the way that you wanted her to show up, and I think that for me, I would like to see them. I think they nailed, and I said this in the review, I think they nailed the relationship between Harley Quinn and the Joker. I think it would be a missed opportunity if they don't put them in one of the Batman standalone films.
I would say kick aside Suicide Squad and bring on the Harley Quinn standalone movie because she did steal the film. I'm just joking. I don't mean kick aside Suicide Squad. That she was just so great in that film, and that I know that Margot Robbie is lobbying for a Harley Quinn standalone movie, and I think she's going to get it. I mean, how do you say no to Margot Robbie?
Right.
She is awesome in the film. But I still feel like maybe, just maybe, when the DVD Blu-ray comes out for Suicide Squad, maybe you'll see that scene, because for them to throw it away, maybe it happened and it was just cut from the film.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with Kristian here that I don't know whether that is one of the deleted scenes. Although they could simply just do a singular shot with either Harley Quinn or the Joker holding a crowbar, and every comic book fan, because Robin was killed with a crowbar, if you've never read the storyline, every comic book fan would just be like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah,
like
they'll know.
The crowbar. Oh, there it is. Right. But yeah, this is exciting. That was the thing about Suicide Squad that was the most exciting for me, is that I felt like this movie, more so than the previous two DC movies, really made you feel that that comic book universe is out there and really connected to it.
What do you think of the theory that, unlike the Marvel films, which are standalone films where they sort of dabble in and out of each other's films, like they did back in the comics in the 60s, but I think I read somewhere online, I don't remember who said this, but I love the theory that the DC cinematic universe is just one continuing story where each film will throw into the other like it's just one long film. Maybe that's their plan, and maybe that's the way that they're going to stand alive from the MCU.
Maybe.
I'm fine with that because that's the comic books. Comic books are never ending. They're serialized.
Exactly.
All right, what's next?
According to a report from Deadline, Training Day and Magnificent Seven director Antoine Fuqua is in talks with Universal to direct a reimagining of another screen classic, Scarface, the third iteration of the crime classic that Universal made in 1932 with director Howard Hawks and star Paul Mooney, and again in 1983 with director Brian De Palma and Al Pacino. The new story is said to borrow the immigrant rags to riches story by presenting it in contemporary Los Angeles. Jonathan Herman wrote the most recent draft, and Paul Atanasio and David Ayer wrote previous versions. Fuqua's next movie, a remake itself, The Magnificent Seven, will be released in theaters on September 23rd. The film stars Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Scott, thoughts on a Scarface remake with Antoine Fuqua
I'm
directing?
going to say buy with reservations, and here's why.
We're
Because
buying
I would buy that.
He's jumping ahead in
But
the
with
show.
reservations. I mean, first of all, Scarface, the other two Scarface movies are so stylistically different. The last Scarface movie was, what, 33 years ago? So
Yeah.
why not? It's a classic story. You just change the nationality, you change the background, the ethnicity, whatever you want. But sure, it still works. And in fact, it might be more relevant for 2016 or 2017 or whatever than it was back in 83 and 32. But the other thing is Antoine Fuqua, and this is where I'm sort of with reservations, Training Day is his best film. It's a really good movie, but it's not a great one. Denzel Washington made it great, but I didn't like Olympus Has Fallen. I didn't really like his remake or his update, his cinematic update of The Equalizer. And the jury is still out for me for The Magnificent Seven, even though it's based on the 1960 classic, which is a remake of Seven Samurai of sorts. And it's opening the Toronto Film Festival, which bodes well and is very promising. The trailer just makes it look too conventional, too run-of-the-mill. It doesn't look like it has a real style all of its own. So I want to wait to see Magnificent Seven before I see him do another remake. But it's promising, reserved on it. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the thing is that I know how. Remember, Scarface, the Brian De Palma version, didn't do great with critics, and so
No, it
when it
didn't.
first came out, but it became a cult hit.
Yes,
People
it did.
love that film, and
Especially college students.
I'm one of them. I love Tony Montana. I love the way that they did that film. It's one of the more quotable movies of all
Yeah.
time.
I was only kidding.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, it's great. The young Michelle Pfeiffer. I love that movie. But you have to remember that was a remake. A lot of people don't realize that because it hit pop culture and maybe didn't see the original, the one back in the 30s.
32.
Right? 32.
Who played the original Scarface in the 30s? Does anybody? Do you
Nat.
remember Mantz?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah,
the
exactly.
point.
There
Is
you
that you
go.
just go away. So you think when you hear Scarface, you think Al Pacino. So I'm not opposed to the idea of them trying to do it again in modern day Los Angeles. It depends on how they do it.
Right.
I could easily sell the trailer right away if this becomes another when they try to do a prequel to Carlito's Way, which is terrible. I love Carlito's Way, but I think it was Jay Hernandez as young Carlito. it's just an awful movie, and if they do something like that with Scarface, that's going to piss a lot of people off and warrant the no, don't touch it. However, if they get an up-and-coming actor or someone who's a star that you were like, well, wait a minute, I was opposed to it at first, but watching him kind of come on, I think they should go similar to what they did with Pacino, even though Pacino obviously had been in The Godfather, but someone that is like likable, like super likable, that seeing him in a way going into the crime world.
So it might come down to casting for you.
Casting?
Yeah,
I agree with
I was
that.
going to make that same point.
Yeah,
that,
I
think Fuqua could make a really interesting movie. I think, and I don't care about the modern setting. Yeah, to me, it comes down to who plays Scarface.
Right.
Good point.
That actor is going to carry that
Excellent
movie.
point. I agree with that.
Okay, so now we move on to Scott Mantz, buy or sell. This is what we're going to happen here is Natasha's going to read some more topics in the world of movie news, and myself, Jason Inman, and the most energetic person in the history of the United States will go and do that. The entire world, Scott Mantz. So what is up first?
Okay, it looks like that long-discussed crossover movie between 21 Jump Street and the Men in Black franchise may not happen after all. The project was first revealed during the Sony hack and became more real earlier this year when Sony Pictures entered talks with the Muppets and Alice Through the Looking Glass Helmer, James Bobbin, to direct. It was seen as a way to organically continue the Jump Street franchise while simultaneously rebooting the studio's highly lucrative Men in Black series. Now, Jonah Hill tells the Toronto Sun via a report from THR that the film is unlikely to happen. I had the idea, but I doubt that movie will ever get made. They're trying to make all the deals, but it's kind of impossible with all the Men in Black stuff. The Jump Street films were so fun to make, and the whole joke of them was they were making fun of remakes and sequels and reboots, and now it's become a giant sequel reboot. It's almost become what we were making fun of, and it's hard to maintain that joke when it's so high stakes. Hill was a bit more optimistic about a proper sequel to 22 Jump Street, expressing his enthusiasm for working with Channing Tatum, Lord and Miller again. But given the busy schedules, if 23 Jump Street happens, it won't be anytime soon. Kristian, buy or sell a Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover from ever happening?
I'll sell that it's ever going to happen, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy Jonah Hill's comments. I love these comments. I think they're incredible. Thank God that this isn't going to happen. I think it would have been a total, absolute mess if they would have tried to do it. And I love that Jonah Hill had the integrity to say, you know what, I had this idea, this is going to be a way to boot it. And then you're going to see it started to get messy. And why taint the 21 Jump Street franchise right now? Because if you think about it, we had this conversation the other day. 22 Jump Street is one of the rare comedies you can say, A, might be better than the first one.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And B, is a good comedy sequel. There are maybe 5 or 10 good comedy sequels. Why taint it by putting it in a franchise that has started to... It's started to flatline. They don't know what they're going to do with it. And the main reason this really wouldn't have worked is because you're blending a rated R movie into a PG-13 movie, and the rated R movie would have taken the hit and become PG-13, and the handcuffs, pun intended, would have been put on, and the movie would have lost its luster. I love the idea that maybe Jonah Hill's like, you know what, let's just wait and take the right time, see what's going on with Lord and Miller. Let's get them right. And then when it's time, in a few years from now, we'll bring out 23 Jump Street and we'll play off it, and it'll be fun. And I'll be up for that. You'll be up for it. Everyone will be up for it. Men in Black and 22, they just don't work together. It's like a good buddy of mine and his ex-wife. They broke up and they stay broken up. All right,
It's an excellent point. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, the Jump Street films, both of them have been great. I agree that the sequel was better than the original, and I love the original. When they start to do crossovers, it's usually a sign that a franchise is on its last legs. You know, they did that with Alien versus Predator, and then, you know, they came out with Prometheus, which wasn't that great anyway. But the Men in Black films, they should just quit while they're ahead. The last film was actually pretty good, but I would pay to see 23 Jump Street in a second. They're smart and they're funny.
The funny thing about this is that I think, and I sell this totally, because I think when they do make 23 Jump Street, and I think they will make it, it'll be post Han Solo movie, and I think that we're gonna get enough of those sci-fi meta jokes from their time making the Han Solo movie that the 23 Jump Street will have that sci-fi flair, but it won't be bogged down by what you said, this this Will Smith franchise that is kind of going nowhere right now. And agreed, mixing these two franchises would have been like throwing Jason Bourne in Star Trek 4. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it would make sense. There's that, like, what? How's that gonna work? You know, even though it's 21 Jump Street and Men in Black are the the same studio. Does that mean that you have to throw them together? It just seems like an act of desperation on their part.
It did, and I think that all came. The talks all came when the Sony leaks happened, and there was a lot of the
Wow.
emails with Amy Pascal when that was going on. That's really where it originated from. They never would do it, but I would have been interested if they said they're going to take Men in Black rated R. Then you go, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Then I
Now
started
that
to
would work.
I go, wait a minute, and then they're bringing in a new cast of agents with a rated R Men in Black. Then I'm going, what is that going to look like? Then I start to say, well, maybe, because then you're still keeping the integrity of the Jump Street franchise, but they're going away from it. So bravo to Jonah Hill for those comments. Natasha, what's next?
DC Comics and Warner Brothers may be hard at work on Justice League and Wonder Woman, but if Jason Momoa's interpretation of Aquaman is any indication, they better focus on his movie lest they make him really mad. Hearing the call, it seems a new report from The Wrap looks to have just identified the movie's villain, and it happens to be the superhero's greatest nemesis. As The Wrap reports, a Black Manta will be the primary antagonist in James Wan's Aquaman adaptation. No other details have been revealed at the moment, and there's still no official confirmation from WB or DC. Aquaman also stars Amber Heard as Mera and Willem Dafoe as Volko. The movie is slated to open July 27, 2018. Jason, buy or sell Black Manta as the villain in Aquaman.
I buy him as the villain. I double buy him as the villain. Black Manta is Aquaman's Joker. He is Aquaman's Lex Luthor. This is the villain. If you're gonna make an Aquaman movie, and if this is your one shot at making this movie, Black Manta is the person you put in it. Because some of you may not know out there, Aquaman killed Black Manta's father. So this villain has a personal vengeance quest against our hero, and especially with the Jason Momoa, they're going kind of Conan the Barbarian called Drogo.
Right.
This is perfect to do that storyline, that Jeff Johns storyline, that Aquaman killed his father for that Triton he's holding. So also, Black Manta is a longtime DC character. He was seen on Super Friends. I mean, you can see that costume right there. I don't know if they're going to go full on with that
Super
costume,
Friends.
but yeah, but this villain on screen is perfect for this DC universe. Total buy.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'm with you on that. Black Manta, it's like I was going to use the correlation, like, he's like the Green Goblin is the Spider-Man. And I feel like there's such a, first of all, the DC movies it's been an uphill battle, even though Suicide Squad is doing very well and it's going to be #1 again this weekend by a bullet. I still feel like it's an uphill battle, and then they're really trying to make like the Wonder Woman standalone movie be good and the Aquaman standalone movie be good. Who's directing Aquaman? Do you know?
One. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. I mean, that's the point. Is that
And apparently he had his
because
choice of the characters, and that's the one he chose.
Of course.
and it's interesting because Aquaman has sort of been a joke in the DC Marvel universe. I mean, they even made a joke about it on Entourage, which is a great joke, but it worked. So I feel like the fact that he's directing and that they're really just going to put a lot of effort into this movie bodes well by making his greatest arch enemy. That's awesome. But who should play him?
Who knows yet?
Ooh, who knows? Yeah.
We'll find that out sooner than later. But I also buy it. I think that this is exactly what you need to do. If this is the best villain, if this is, like you said, his Joker, this is his Lex Luthor, then why not put him in the first one? Don't hold it off. Bring us the best right away, because this is also like Wonder Woman. This character has never had a feature film about them. So, and this is a brand new type of version. It's not the blonde-haired Ken doll that we've known all these years. It's a different type of Aquaman. We've seen him so far teased in the Justice League trailer. We like what we're seeing. So give us his best foe. It makes sense to do that. Also, who knows what's going to happen if once the foe is someone that we really respond to, that then down the line they can use him in more films.
Yeah.
We'll see, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
And if you can't have Black Manta, you can have Black Mance.
Nice. There
Yes!
you go. I was waiting for it.
Throw Mance into the DC Cinematic Universe.
Well,
Woohoo!
Roke is going to find out about that tomorrow, I'm sure. All right, what's next?
Okay, despite early enthusiasm from Sony about the Ghostbusters franchise and the shared universe potential, the film's estimated $75 million box office loss might have ended the chances for a sequel. The July 2016 release currently has a domestic box office take just north of $117 million, with a disappointing $62.8 million from the international market. It will expand into Spain and Japan in the next week or so, but being banned from playing in China hasn't helped its overseas numbers. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the film will likely peak at about $225 million, which isn't great considering estimates claim that Ghostbusters will need to make $300 million more to break even, thanks to its $144 million production budget and the substantial size of the marketing campaign. Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon are reportedly signed on for 2 potential sequels, but that doesn't mean a thing until the studio gives additional installments the green light. Scott, buy or sell a sequel to Ghostbusters eventually happening?
Well, disappointed, I gotta say, but sell. I mean, the Ghostbusters remake or reboot this summer, there's so much backlash against it going in because how dare they remake Ghostbusters with an all-female cast? The irony was that the cast was the best thing about the movie. The chemistry between them. I am obsessed with Kate McKinnon. I think she is incredibly hot. I thought Melissa McCarthy and Leslie Jones and Kristen Wiig were very, very funny. The problem with the film is that there was too much fan service to the original movie. It never found its own identity. The story was weak, and the last 20 minutes was just a mess of CGI. So people were lukewarm about it. It's not doing well. To do a sequel to a movie that no one really liked in the first place is a bad idea unless they do another reboot with another female cast or with the male cast. I think they're still planning on doing some kind of separate Ghostbusters movie with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and the rest of those guys. But I think if they're doing the right thing by passing on a sequel to this one.
Yeah, I sell it also. We're not going to see it, and I happen to disagree with you, though. I thought Kate McKinnon was the worst part of the entire movie.
I love Kate McKinnon.
I like her normally. I thought in Ghostbusters, she just annoyed me. She was all over the top. She was super over the top, and I think the movie was over the top, and I think that the tone just didn't work for the movie. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was 4 female Ghostbusters on my end. When it was announced, I liked that cast. I thought that cast could work. I just thought the movie missed on all cylinders, and you cannot take another risk and make another one of
Agreed.
these movies because it is the most disliked trailer in the history of
yeah.
YouTube.
Both of them.
Now, wait a minute. Now, because part of that because it was women as Ghostbusters? Absolutely. Was part of it because it was a crappy trailer? Absolutely. So it's, why do you take the headache again
Absolutely.
if you're Sony?
Yep.
If it didn't make you so much money that you're just like, well, it makes sense. Who cares what they're saying? If it's going to be another risk and it's going to have more comments kind of coming out to where it's going to be, and look at what it did to some of the cast members as well. The way that the cast members were attacked.
Leslie Jones, especially.
A lot of cast members, a lot of them were. Now, whether or not they take some time and maybe down the line, I still think you can do a Ghostbusters movie, 2 guys, 2 girls, continue the lore from back after the second Ghostbusters happened. You can still do it. Get Ivan Reitman down the line to kind of come up with a story, and maybe down the line we can do it. Right now, it's going to be tainted for a little bit. So
That's
I think
a good point.
Stay away from it.
It's definitely a sell too. I do not think we see a sequel with this cast. I agree with Christian. Kate McKinnon was my least favorite part of the movie as well.
I love Kate McKinnon. I thought she didn't say a line. She was
That was
very
the point.
expressive.
When she's in the background, she couldn't stand in the background. I was going,
Yeah. And I don't mean to make this a Ghostbusters review, but for me, she was in a completely different movie than the rest of the cast.
Yes.
I thought that added something to the film, but I respect your opinions.
I
get
respect
it.
yours. But I don't think. Yeah, I agree with you. This is a total loss for them, and they're not gonna go down. The hate will begin now if they announce that they're making a
That
sequel
is
in 5 years.
absolutely true.
But I do have a quick caveat. I do think we see a Ghostbusters sequel within the next 10 years, doing something like you said, or doing the all-male version. You said that you thought the weakness was connecting to the old movies. I thought the weakness of this movie was not making it like Jurassic World, where it's a 10 years down the line Ghostbusters movie.
Okay, now Jurassic World, I know I'm in the minority on this movie, but we saw that together, and when we walked out of that film, I thought Jurassic World was not a good film. Yeah. Because it was too much like the original. Just like I thought, honestly, even though I like The Force Awakens, it's too much like A New Hope. These movies, there's too much fan service to these movies, and I do love A New Hope. I enjoyed it very much, and I love Star Wars, but they need to do a Ghostbusters that is going to be a reboot, that is going to be its own thing, something that doesn't pay fan service, that has its own identity, and that is where this reboot faltered.
Yeah. All right. Now, before we get to opening this week, we're going to go over to the lovely Miss Wendy Lee, who has been looking at you guys and checking if the sound is working. Wendy, what is everyone saying in the chat room besides the sound?
Oh, you mean the audio's not in sync?
It's not?
Oh,
I haven't
what?
seen any comments about it.
All right, well, they're talking about World War Z, so while the movie was fun to watch, the chat's not sure if we need a sequel, but David Fincher turns everything to gold, so maybe it'll be good, and others speculate that Fincher won't sign on to this movie due to the caliber of director he is. Yummy Yummy Christmas Tummy says, well... Oh my gosh! That's why I picked his, because his name is awesome. Well, I don't like World War Z, but when I hear David Fincher, you've got me intrigued. And this next comment comes from our very own Olympian, Cody Miller.
Nice.
Says, David Fincher directing... Woo, Cody! David Fincher directing a zombie movie. If this is actually happening, fantastic news. I agree with Scott Mantz, although I am still Team Roca.
Man!
Olympian.
Wow!
Wow.
After all the love, I mean, come on! I'm wearing my friggin' T-shirt here,
Wow.
man. Man, it hurts.
We're also talking about the Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover. So the chat was pretty divided on this. Some think that the crossover seems like a funny idea, even though it's weird in reality. Others say, thank God they finally realized that this is not a good idea. And Mr. Boaz says, actually, this could work. Never say never. But why would you do this? They're a viable part and no need to do this mashup.
All right. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you guys for all the great comments. And thank you, Cody, even though apparently not a Mantz fan.
Wow.
Okay. So let's move on here to opening this week, brought to you by our friends over at AMC. The latest and greatest of what's coming out in the theaters, brought to you again by our friends over at AMC. Natasha, what's coming out this week?
Okay, Pete's Dragon, Mr. Metchem, played by Robert Redford, a woodcarver, delights local children with stories of a mysterious dragon that lives deep in the woods of the Pacific Northwest. His daughter, Grace, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, believes these are just tall tales until she meets Pete, played by Oakes Fedgley, a 10-year-old orphan who says he lives in the woods with a giant friendly dragon. With help from a young girl named Natalie, played by Una Lawrence, Grace sets out to investigate if this fantastic claim can be true. Florence Foster Jenkins, in the 1940s New York, socialite Florence Foster Jenkins, played by Meryl Streep, dreams of becoming a great opera singer. Unfortunately, her ambition far exceeds her talent. The voice Florence hears in her head is beautiful, but to everyone else, it is quite lousy. Her husband, St. Clair, goes to extreme lengths to make sure his wife never finds out how awful she truly is. When Florence announces her plans for a concert at Carnegie Hall, St. Clair soon realizes that he's facing his greatest challenge yet. And lastly, Bloodfather, an ex-convict played by Mel Gibson, battles Mexican drug dealers who are trying to kill his estranged daughter, played by Erin Moriarty.
All right. So for me, I'm curious about Bloodfather. I want to see if there's anything interesting in that for Mel Gibson and his pretty much his Taken. Let's see. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm curious. The Florence Foster Jenkins singing in the tub. I don't know what it's called.
All right. Florence Foster Jenkins. I did not expect to like this movie, but I really liked it a lot.
Okay.
It has a big heart. I did not know it was based on a true story until I got to the end of the film when it said, like
Shows
what
all
really
the
happened.
paragraph.
It showed all the pictures,
Cool.
the real Florence Foster Jenkins. But it's a beautiful love story. Hugh Grant gives his best performance in God knows how long. I mean, he plays her husband, who has a mistress played by Rebecca Ferguson.
Okay.
And
who I like a lot.
who was great in Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. But it's a real sweet story about the enduring power of passion and how sometimes passion triumphs over talent, as it did in her case. Because when you have passion and you have energy, that is infectious, and that is what I loved about this movie. It's a real sweet film. It's it's for grown-ups. It's a summer movie, an August film, and I think like a lot of adult moviegoers are going to see the movie. It's right up their alley. And Meryl Streep, I mean, she is just fantastic. She can read from a phone book and get nominated for an Academy Award, and she'll probably get nominated for this.
Wow. I mean, I got to tell you, Mance, you sold me on wanting to see that movie. I didn't really care about it, and now I'm curious to see it. I also, Pete's Dragon is one that I wanted to see what Disney was going to do next, where they've taken old properties and they're starting to kind of spin them into gold. They did it with Jungle Book. They did it with Cinderella. Even though I didn't necessarily love Maleficent, they did it with that movie as far as financially. This movie is not necessarily straight up animation, the old school one, but it had the cartoon dragon. So how is it going to play? What I can tell you about this movie is that, does it pull on the heartstrings at times? Absolutely. Does it really capitalize on the boy and his dog story? Yes, it does. It is very paint by numbers. You will be able to predict everything that's happening. The characters don't really have much to do. They're pretty one note for the most part. But that being said, I think it's a good family movie. I don't think anyone can leave the movie and goes, that was terrible. It reminded me of a very 1960s, 1970s Disney film where you knew everything that was going to happen, but the intent was to make you feel good, and I think it accomplishes that. So if you're just going there for a feel-good family movie, I think Pete's Dragon accomplishes it. Jason, out of the movies that are coming out, which ones do you want to see?
You know, I've heard mixed things about Pete's Dragon.
Yeah.
I've heard you're the first positive review I've heard about Florence Foster Jenkins. That seems like a Netflix movie to me. The one I'm excited about is Bloodfather, because Mel Gibson goes really good when he goes crazy.
Yeah, he does.
Like Ransom and like Paycheck.
And the
so if this is
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, so if this is crazy Mel Gibson, I'm into it. Although, like you brought up that this is his Taken. We just saw that with Kevin Costner doing Criminal, like
Yeah,
his
that was
version,
bad.
and that was
bad.
terrible.
That was really bad.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you about Pete's Dragon. I thought it was going to just really be a big family film along the lines of Jungle Book, and it's very similar to Jungle Book if you think about it.
It has some moments.
It has
Yeah.
some moments. Jungle Book is a better film. I thought that we talked about it after the screening of Pete's Dragon. It's solid. It's like a B- kind of movie.
It's a little slow in the beginning.
It's a little
too.
slow. I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but it does drag on.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
Can
Give
we,
it up.
Can we turn his mic off? All right, so guys, that's everything coming out this week, brought to you by our friends over at AMC. Go and check out the movies at a local AMC. All right, now before we move on to Mailbag, something big going down tomorrow. We started the movie Trivia Schmodown back here in March, and still to this day, the match that stands out as the best match that we've had so far was Mantz and Roca. Well, the second one happens tomorrow. There it is, the decider in Collider. Mantz and Roca to the winner, advancing into the the Ultimate Schmodown 8-week tournament for a chance at a shot at the belt. Scott Mantz, you hold a victory over John Roca, and you love holding that victory over John Roca. Why do you guys have this rivalry, and what can we expect for tomorrow?
Well, what I want from Roca tomorrow is his best spin. I want
man.
his
Full of
best game, and I'm going to get his best game because it's obvious he really, really wants this bad, which is why I have to take him down. It's just this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go. Mantz is going to be victorious, and everyone watching the Schmodown tomorrow is going to see the last ever match between Mantz and Roca.
Wow.
This is the one. Whether Roca wins or Mantz wins, and Mantz is going to win, this is it. This is the last time you will see Mantz versus Roca anywhere, any showdown, any fight. You name it, this is the one.
You're cutting him out of your life.
I'm cutting out. I am moving on from all this.
Right.
It's been fun,
Yeah.
but it's time
You're
to
done.
move on.
Okay, so what do you think's going to happen in tomorrow's match?
Well, I have to support my teammate, Team Trek teammate,
Trek,
Scott
baby!
Mantz right here. I think he's going to take him down because even I know stuff about Bespin. Yeah, it's populated by Ugnaughts. Look it up. Like, even I know that. So to me, it's obviously going to go to Mantz. And you say that you're cutting out Rook out of your life. Well, I'm picking that baton up. I'm picking that Team Trek
You're gonna go
baton
after
up.
him.
And I am challenging, win or lose, John Roca.
Wow.
Coming after him
I
right
will
now.
also say this. You better have movie dates on that wheel. You
tell me
better
what to put
put
on
movie
there.
dates because I got news for you. If I spin it and it lands on movie
over.
dates, it is
so
over.
you really want to
It is
just want to
over.
embarrass him.
I just want to feel like this is my
right.
category.
All right, so
just like Star Wars was his category in the last match.
Yeah.
Movie dates
Or
is
so he
mine.
thought.
Well, that's what I would suggest too. If you didn't watch Mantz vs. Roca, the first one, do yourselves a favor and watch it. Natasha, real quick before we move on here, who wins tomorrow? Because I know who you've picked in the past.
I'm
buddy.
so torn because
Come on!
I
sitting
love
right here.
Roca. He was like one of my first buddies when I came on to Collider. But like, I mean, come
I'm
on,
right
man.
here.
This friendship
I'm
is real.
sitting here.
Wow.
So
You just a Miss Elizabeth. Though.
and Roca has let me down many a time. So I think I gotta go
I
with
know
you,
that.
man.
Wow.
Roca has
I'm
let me
sorry.
down, too.
I'm sorry, Roca.
All right. All right. So
that's
Did he
my
forget
girl.
to
Prove
pick
me
you
wrong.
up somewhere? How did he let you down?
That's my girl.
the decider and collider, it happens tomorrow. Mantz Roca to the winner, advancing into the Ultimate Schmodown 8-week tournament. Make sure that you watch it. I guarantee there will be fireworks. All right, moving on to mailbag. You guys have submitted a lot of questions. We're going to get to some of those questions. Natasha, what's up first?
Okay, Adam B. writes, "Hey guys, what are some of the most creepy movie characters of recent years, either fiction or based on a true character? After watching Foxcatcher recently, my vote goes to Steve Carell's portrayal of Jean Dupont. Thanks."
I feel like I have anytime this type of question at all, bless you, is I would say Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's just the late Robin Williams really showed what a talent he was and where he was able to go, because he was one of the most likable human beings on the planet and became one of the creepiest ones like that in that performance.
For me, it is Heath Ledger as the Joker
That's a good
in
one.
The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Because the great thing about The Dark Knight itself was that it was a grounded superhero movie, because it really isn't a superhero movie. It's a comic book character movie, but the Joker and Batman are not superheroes. They don't have superpowers. They were equals. They were very, very similar. They were almost the same person, just fortunately Batman was on the good side. But Heath Ledger did something that was unthinkable. He made the Joker his own, especially after Cesar Romero and especially after Jack Nicholson. And it was such a grounded character, a disturbing character, and one that really, really got in your head just like it got into Batman's.
When we asked this question, the one that popped into my head is Anton from No Country for Old Men,
Oh, I was gonna do
Javier
that.
Bardem, because
Yep.
he's just so dead inside and just so methodical about how he doesn't seem human. He
Call
seems
it.
like a killing robot.
Call it, friendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That scene with the flip.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right, what's next?
That's awesome.
Okay, Anthony DKL writes, "Hi Collider crew, I recently read an article about a moviegoer suing Warner Brothers and DC for false advertising on the recent Suicide Squad, claiming that Suicide Squad trailers show specific scenes with the Joker, and many of those scenes are not in the movie. To me, this sounds like a person complaining about the movie like the Rotten Tomatoes petition. My question is a two-part question. Are production companies allowed to show scenes in trailers they know will not be in the movie, and do you think that trailers should show only scenes in the movie? I know that movies are cut and edited constantly within weeks of a release date, but to me, if you're willing to know a scene is not going to be in the movie and you show it in the trailer, then I think to a certain extent that could be false advertising. Thank you and keep up the great work."
I don't know if it's false advertising, because you got to remember, like the edits change like really close up to the time the release happens too. So they could have all intent of putting that scene in there, and when they release trailers really early, sometimes a year up until the movie's coming out. So they go, you know what, that scene just it looks cool and it worked for the trailer, but it just doesn't serve the story. So we're gonna take it out. I mean, look at The Force Awakens. One of the most iconic moments in the first trailer is Kylo Ren in the forest with the hood up and then saber comes out. That never happens in the movie.
Never happens.
And you know, was that false advertising? No, it sucked that we didn't get to see that, but maybe there was a particular scene that they had it in, they took it out, or I don't think that you can call that false advertising. What do you think?
I think it's ridiculous, because they are editing the movie up until days before it's released. So how could they even possibly know which scenes are going to be in that movie and which scenes aren't? And also, you brought up a great example, like Force Awakens. One of the ones that always comes to my head of like a scene in a movie trailer that wasn't in the movie. I have a weird love for Highlander. I know the whole franchise is mostly stupid beyond the first movie, but I love it all. And Highlander Endgame was the movie that was going to team up the TV Highlander and the movie Highlander. And in the trailers, they showed the two of them teaming up. Well, spoilers, never happens in the movie.
I have a bigger problem when trailers show too much than when trailers show something that's not in the film.
I agree.
These days trailers do show too much. There is an international edit of the trailer for Star Trek Beyond that shows what the character of Krall, played by Idris Elba, who he really is. And that was a massive reveal.
Yes, it's like a big reveal.
That's
yeah.
a big reveal. It's like giving away
would
the
you
ending
do
to
that?
The Sixth Sense
Right.
in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I have a bigger problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, they're cutting movies up until the last minute. If a movie's in if a scene is in the trailer and it's not in the final film, so be it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, before we get on to the live Twitter questions, which we're going to do in just a second here, we do a show every Saturday, and it's just basically the best of the week, and it shows all the stuff that's happening in Collider, whether it's from Movie Talk. There's a lot of good bloopers. There's a very special video that's going to be shown on Saturday. I can't reveal too much about the video. Yeah, there's something right. There's a little shot from that video. I think we have another shot also from, who's that?
Ooh.
We don't know who that is, but something is going to happen on the best of the week that I guarantee you, it will blow your mind.
A Cylon and Darth Vader in the same shot?
It is a pretty interesting thing.
Ooh.
So go and check it out. Saturday is when it comes up at 2 p.m. PST. Go and watch it. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. But it's very mysterious. All right. Now, let's get
That's a
to
good tease, my friend.
Let's get to Twitter. What's happening on Twitter?
Okay, Phil Fang Foom writes, do you think DC will continue their habit of saying this wasn't the full cut by the Blu-ray? Hashtag Roca for the win.
Oh, man. Roca for the win.
Roca for the win. Where's the love?
Can you repeat the question one more
Where's the
time,
love,
Natasha?
Collider? Come on.
Do you think that DC will continue the habit of saying this wasn't the full cut by the Blu-ray?
No, I don't think that I don't think it's been an intentional thing. I think that it's just and they're not doing that with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad isn't. They're going to have a lot of deleted scenes, but it's not a director's cut. I think all Blu-rays and stuff, and very popular ones have deleted scenes in there. I mean, just look at what they're doing again with The Force Awakens. Like, you knew that was going to happen. Oh,
Yeah.
we're having another
Here we
cut
go.
now with more scenes. It's waited for them to get the money, get the money, get the money. That's what the studios do. So, no, I don't think DC is going to continue this. What do you think?
No, I think that when you have a director's cut like you did with the Daredevil movie,
Yeah.
where it actually improves the film, or you have a director's cut like you now do with Batman v Superman, where it improves the movie, but a director's cut of Suicide Squad,
Right.
I mean, that could be like 3 hours long.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see it. I especially don't think we're going to see it for Wonder Woman, because the way Patty Jenkins talked about that movie at Comic-Con, it seemed like she was like streamlined and had a vision. And I would be very surprised if we hear that there was some alternate cut.
Having said that, the director's cut of Watchmen greatly
improves
improved
the
that
film.
film.
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting.
that movie, at least in the DC cinematic universe, Watchmen is the Citizen Kane of comic book movies.
Yeah.
Had to throw that in.
I knew it was coming. All right, let's do two more.
Okay, Tyler Myers asks, since today has been 2 years since Robin Williams' death, what are some of your guys' favorite performances from him?
Well, Good Will Hunting for sure.
The World According to Garp.
It's a good one.
The
Good
Fisher King.
Good Morning Vietnam.
Fisher King is great. Good Morning Vietnam is his best
I
performance.
think so. That was
yeah.
the one that really
Awakenings is-
started his career all over. again.
Awakenings with Robert De Niro? Is
Yeah,
the
that
one?
was
Yeah,
91.
That's
Yeah.
a great one.
But
yeah.
think about Good Morning Vietnam is that it took his comedy, which
Yeah.
he had been best known for up to that point, and it put some drama into it too. It was a good mix.
Yeah, and he was trying to do other movies that were supposed to like try to take him into a serious spin for a little bit, and it wasn't working. There were
Right.
a lot of things that he was doing that just his career. He always had these dreams and aspirations of what he was going to do, ultimately achieving them, but at the time wasn't. And he thought that Altman's Popeye was going to be huge, and it was a huge
That was a
bomb,
bomb.
big bomb,
1980.
and that really hurt him.
Hurt
and
Robert
then
Altman, too.
about 87 pops along, or 86 when they filmed it, and 87 is when it was released. You'll tell me if I'm incorrect.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And Good Morning Vietnam comes out, and it just really showed what he
great
could
film.
do.
This
We
will
al-
was he
not look good on the
Yeah.
resume.
We also have to give a major shout out to quite possibly maybe the greatest Disney voiceover performance of all time with
Oh,
him
yes.
as the genie in Aladdin.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, last one.
Okay, No Pants Daniel asks, if you could only watch old movies or new movies for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
Define old.
So
You watch
old being from now to the beginning of filmmaking, and new being from today and onward.
Old. I mean, some of the best movies are the old ones, the classics, the movies between, like, I would say
That's a tough
anything after
question.
1940 would be it for me. I mean, I still think that Citizen Kane is the Citizen Kane of movies. So that came out in 41. But, I mean, there have been so many great classics that today's movies rarely hold up their standards to that level. I mean, they do sometimes, but not a lot.
I'm going to make the tough choice and say new.
Ooh.
Because I love the old movies. They are greats. But I have seen them. I've had my experience, and nothing I do nor any new movie will change that original experience with that movie. Whereas with the new movies, I can see things that I've never seen before, and it will always be original to me.
But with old movies, you could see things you've never seen before, too. I'm still going back and watching old movies that I've never seen before. Just recently, I saw Lawrence of Arabia for the first time. Full disclosure, yes, I know that's a classic that I should have seen.
Oh,
I saw
wow.
it on the big screen, and it was like, holy moly. Like, when you see old movies like that, you go, that's what they're talking about. That's a movie.
It's new for me because they're going to remake everything that I like anyway. All right, now here we go, guys. Now, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Really, really fun show. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us today, starting with Wendy Lee. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney. And then Scott Mantz, I got one more message for you from Cody Miller. So while he is Team Roca, he says Mantz is super well spoken. I do like this guy.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
But the
All right,
the
we're
Olympian
friends
still
again.
thinks you're going to
We're
lose.
friends again.
All right. Speaking of which, the Mantz man, Scott Mantz, going up against his greatest rival, John Roca, tomorrow. Where can they find you?
Well, actually, that's John Choka Roca. We'll see if he chokas again.
There he is.
You can find me on Twitter at Movie Mantz. You can find me on Facebook at Scott Mantz. You can watch my reviews on Access Hollywood, Access Hollywood Live, and AccessHollywood.com. But definitely tweet me at Movie Mantz and let them know you are on Team Mantz for the Schmodown.
All right. Jason Justice Inman, where can they find you?
You can find me on DCL Access every weekday and on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Jawin, Jawin, and on the podcast Geek History Lesson on iTunes. And I'm going to be going after Choka because he gave me a lot of guff during my Schmodown, so I got to defend my teammate,
Take him
John
down.
Roca.
Take him down.
Coming for you.
Take him down.
We all know about Bespin, you don't.
All right. Natasha Martinez, the former friend of John Roca, where can they find you?
I'm with
You guys
Natasha.
can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaAlexis_.
There's already a hashtag for John Choka. Unbelievable. All right, guys. For me, Kristian Harloff, you find me on Twitter and Instagram, but Collider Jedi Council today the episode will drop around 3 or 4 o'clock. What I think that I have found out is that the Rogue One trailer will drop around 6 p.m. our time. I believe it's around 6 p.m. our time. So we're not going to be able to cover it on Jedi Council, but we'll probably do like a special episode where there's a trailer reaction review. You'll see all that stuff. We were very aware that the Rogue One trailer is coming out today, so stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll get you. Subscribe. Make sure that you tweet out everything. What do you got, man?
Okay. I just want to take this opportunity to say,
Yes.
You got your Jedi Council, you got all your Star Wars talk on Collider. Let's see a Star Trek, a weekly Star Trek show on the Collider Network. You have a new movie that's in theaters now. You have a
great
brand
pitch.
new TV show that is coming out in January. It is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. Who better to do a Star Trek show for Collider than me and my good friend, my number one, Jason Inman. Engage. Make it so. Tweet me at Movie Mantz. Tweet Collider. Tweet Schmoes No. Hashtag Mantz Star Trek Show. Let's do this. Yes!
All right. All right, so guys, thank you so much. Join us back again tomorrow. All right, see ya.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.